Hi there. Welcome back or welcome to Recovering Out Loud podcast, the show where we get real about mental health and addiction. I'm so glad you're here. If you or someone you love is struggling with drugs or alcohol, please reach out for help. Send me a message on all social media platforms at Recovering Out Loud Pod or by email at recoveringoutloudpod@gmail.com. You are no longer alone. Thanks so much for coming down, Mary. I really appreciate it. We met online. I was watching some of your videos, and correct me, I hope I don't screw this up, but your account is Mental Health with Mary.
Yes.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. You do these like hilarious little videos where you're kind of whispering into the camera and telling your story, and I just really like that. I found it awesome, and you reached out to me, and so I'm happy you came down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, what brought you into recovery, and you're very passionate now about mental health and recovery, and how you kind of came to this point of being an advocate and speaking out about it and making these hilarious videos.
Honestly, I feel like mental health and addiction and recovery are spoken about, but not truly spoken about. I feel like we live in this world on social media where everyone is very like, drink your green juice or go for a 10-minute walk or do this or do that.
Buy my product. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you see all these mental health advocates where they're advocating mental health, but they're also at like a gin event. And you kind of forget like my followers are either addicts or people in recovery. They don't want to fucking see a gin event.
What is that, by the way? What's a gin event? Yeah.
There was this like gin company that had this like event kind of thing, and there were a lot of like wellness influencers and mental health advocates that were at the event, and I was like, I'm so sorry if your following page is people that are addicts or in recovery, should you really be promoting that? So I kind of figured, I'm 9 years sober. If someone's going to talk about it, somebody that's actually probably lived it should probably talk about it. Yeah. And let me tell you, it's scary at points because I'm exposing not only myself, but my family as well. And that can be quite challenging. Yeah.
Have you had any backlash from that? Like people kind of saying, stay in your lane, because there's a lot of good positivity and negativity on Instagram.
Oh my goodness, absolutely. There has been people, including my own family, feeling very embarrassed and ashamed, not because of just my past, but because of where I am now. And I completely respect that because, again, we've lived in a culture, you being Italian, me being Greek, where suffering in silence is far more admirable and protecting people's reputation is far more admirable. But unfortunately, that ends up either A, killing us, or B, putting us
in these chairs.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're 9 years sober. Amazing.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You were saying you got, before we were talking about a little bit about your backstory, and you got sober at 23.
Yes.
Right? Or 23?
Yes.
Same like me. I came in at 23. What was that like? Tell us a little bit about what that was like and how you ended up in recovery.
Well, technically, to be honest with you, I hit rock bottom. I had absolutely nothing and no one left. And I feel like, unfortunately, I had to hit rock bottom. And I'll be honest with you, like my dad and my sister were nothing but supportive, but they also had to be like, what if this is how you're going to be? We're not supporting this. So I had to unfortunately hit rock bottom in order to get help. It took me more than one time to figure it out. I was young and stupid. I was also with a lot of people that raving was really big back then. It was really, really big. And unfortunately, I couldn't just rave for the weekend. I had to keep doing the drugs from Monday to Sunday. It was what I needed to function. Yeah. And I was with a partner where I don't want to shit on him. We're obviously not together now, where he still till this day partakes in it. And good for him because he's able to differentiate the difference between partying on a Friday and being able to go to work the next day. Me too. I couldn't, and that caused a lot of issues as well in our relationship because he was very much like, well, what do you mean you're not doing it? I said, I can come out, but I can't. And it caused a lot of issues because I think our initial connection was based off of that. But unfortunately, I knew that I didn't have the willpower to be like, no, I'm going to stop. I was like, I need more. I need more.
Yeah.
So it became that kind of really tug of war of I don't have the willpower to be able to be like, no, I'm stopping. And kudos to people that can. Like, I'm not shitting on them, but like, I can't.
Yeah. Once I start, I don't know how to stop, right?
No.
I don't know how to, and I don't know how to stay stopped too. That's the other thing. This is like the 2-part thing in addiction, right? You bring up a really important point there. I talk to a lot of people that have had past relationships that were built on, this connection of drug use, partying, alcohol use, where you get sober and you're kind of like, we don't have a lot in common, right?
We have nothing in common.
Yeah,
I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
I'm like,
who is this person?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, like, you want to pass me the mozzarella stick? Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, it literally got to the point where I was like, this is a disservice to the both of us. Like, I'm not the girl for you. You're not the guy for me. And like, I wish him all the best.
Yeah.
Like, I truly do. And he's an amazing person, just not for me. And like, now he's with someone where they party and do all that stuff. And God bless him, they can party and go to work the next day. I can't.
Yeah. And then, it's like you get sober and you have not a lot in common. You actually don't even enjoy each other's company, right? And the same thing happened for me with my friends, right? When I first got sober, I came back from Minnesota and it was advised that I kind of still take some more time in my recovery community and stay away from my friends. And that was, it was hard for my friends, but I was so bought in at that point that I was like, I'm doing whatever you say, man, because I don't want to go back there, right? I don't want to do that again. And so I think it was like 4 months before my friends even heard anything from me, and I needed to do that, right? And then so my point with all that was I started hanging out with my friends again, and you start to realize like who your real friends are and who your fake friends are. And when I say fake friends, I just, like you said, it's just you just don't have, your interests are different, you're doing different things, and then you kind of just slowly fade away, right?
Exactly. They're good people, they're just not good for you. And that's not shitting on them as a person. It's just everyone's built differently. Some people have, I don't want to say a stronger willpower, but let's be honest, like I can't be friends with people that rave every weekend because I still have that monkey on my back being like, well, like, and if I dab into it once, who are we kidding? Yeah. It's not a one-time situation.
Yeah. And we don't know what's going to happen next, right?
No.
Do you still go to raves sober, or have you, or do you still like the music even?
So funny enough is so I only listen to the music when I run. Because running is, I don't know if you've noticed, but like I run at least 10 to 15K a day. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of what keeps me sane. Yeah. And I love that music. And to be honest, I only like it when I'm running. Maybe because it's giving me the same endorphins that the drugs used to do at the same time. But I did go to a few raves sober. Well, it was not my scene.
Yeah.
I stuck out like a sore thumb. Like a real sore thumb, if you know what I mean. Like I was like, oh, sweet Lord, this is not.
Yeah. Raving's really changed. And it's like, no, I've changed.
No, I've changed. I just couldn't. I was like, this is disgusting. I was like, I don't know what time to do. No.
Yeah.
And like, just wasn't my vibe.
I always say this, but because I really enjoy techno music, and I still do from time to time like going to raves. The times don't really line up with my schedule, right?
No.
It's hard for me to stay up till 6 a.m. Nowadays, but I used to go to after hours and leave at 10 a.m.
Oh my God, good old CZ.
Yeah.
Good old CZ. I would literally walk out Sunday with my eyes peeled open. I was like, oh my God, it's 11 o'clock. Like, first of all, when the bouncers at Zone know you, that's a problem.
Me too, yeah.
When you're the last one to leave Zone because the lights go on, that's a problem.
Also a problem, yeah.
That's like when I went to the Zone closing party, I cried. Like, that's a problem.
My favorite after hours is closing. What a tragedy.
Yeah, it turns out they just reopened up again like somewhere else I was hearing.
Yeah, and that's so they reopened on Queen Street and a lot less sketchy. I got to know all the bouncers there, but yeah, so in my relapse, I spent a lot of time at that place. And man, I look back and I'm like, some of the conversations you have with people on those patios or on those smoking areas, like, oh my God, I think back now, I'm like, oh, we were going to change the world together. And then
Oh, for
10 a.m. came
sure.
around and I was like, get me out of here, right? And why is that guy carrying a briefcase walking down the street? Like, what's going on, right? He's going to work. You know, I'm going home at 10 a.m. Something happens, though. Something happens where now you go to a rave, you go to a party, and like there's like this shift in the night, you know, 2 a.m., probably around 2 a.m. People just start to change, right? And it's like zombies start coming out, and you're like, okay, I've had my fun here, and it's time to go home, right?
But we never went home.
Yeah.
We just kept going. I was that zombie, and so there were moments where like I was like, I think this person's eyes like going what, and I was like, whatever, doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
I'm still
I'm doing
jamming,
me,
and then I was
yeah.
like I look back at it now, and like I have a daughter. She turns 1 tomorrow,
Wow.
and I like think about it now. I'm like, oh my gosh, if she ever like finds out about this, which obviously she will because I'm all over social media, she's gonna be like, Mom, what the hell was wrong with you? Like, did you not think? And I'll be like, no, honey, I really didn't think, which is why I'm gonna try and like tell you, like, if you're gonna party, please just be smart about it because you know what can happen when you, I don't want to say have the wrong friends, but when you have an environment that isn't best suited for you.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not here to shit talk people. I'm just here to be like, sometimes the people that come into your life come in for a reason. And hopefully you learn that lesson before, sorry to trigger, you end up 6 feet under.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had a mom reach out to me last week, totally overwhelmed, not knowing how to help her 15-year-old son. She picked up what's wrong with my teen after I had mentioned it here and messaged me a week later saying she finally felt seen. That's why I bring stuff like this up. If you're a parent in the thick of it, confused, scared, or just tired, this book is a great place to start. Check the link in the show notes below. It's actually a good point. I was going to ask you, like, what does a parent say to their kid when, well, Mom, you use drugs, right? Like, why wouldn't I use drugs, right? But to your point, there's a lot of, you know, things nowadays where you can take precautions, right? Fentanyl testing kit is the first thing that comes to mind. Even drug testing in general, it's like really cheap.
You want to know what's so funny?
Please.
Fucking at one point, thank God we got the kit. At one point, the can I say the MDMA that we're
Any
okay,
drug. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We love talking about
Okay,
drugs.
sorry. so the Molly that we were doing, it was fucking bath salts. And I only found that out like 3 months later because my partner at the time, he got like a drug kit test. And he was like, oh my God, we're doing bath salts. I was like,
Jesus.
Excuse us?
Yeah.
Like all the shit that we've put into our bodies, and like, yes, I get it. My body's a temple. Let me tell you, I did not treat my body like a temple. I treat it like a fucking trash can.
Yeah. A big old one of those trash cans on the driveways when the house is getting renovated. Just
Worse.
throw it in there. Yeah.
Worse.
There's drywall and bricks and shit. Yeah.
It's so funny to think about. Like now, I check if like the meat was grass fed, but back then I was taking pills from strangers. Like it's so funny to like see how like though now I'm like, wait, is this made with like no pesticides, no this, no that, but yet like though 10 years ago I was like, ooh, magic pill box, let's go for it.
You mean this one was better than the last batch? Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
all right,
That's
cool.
good enough for me.
Yeah.
Oh my God, no, it's so true.
It's funny to see the transition when you become an adult, even though, to be honest with you, I don't think you become an adult and I'm only 31. I don't think you become an adult until you're 30. Like, to be fully transparent, I think 30 and under, you're still a kid figuring out your life.
Yeah.
Like, truly.
Yeah. A lot changed for me too. I mean, when you get sober though, like at 23, you do mature a lot quicker, right? Because
100%.
they say when you're using drugs, your brain just stops maturing up until the point you stop using drugs, like at least the way we were using them. So I remember being more mature than a lot of people my age when I came in at 23. And, you know, you just start looking for different, like I said, different things in your life, different preferences. You value going to the movies on a Friday night instead of going to the bar, right? What was it like for you coming in at 23 with your friends and family? How did they react?
My friends and my family were extremely supportive, to be honest with you. They all knew I had a problem. My good friends that I'm still friends with till now, even their parents, who God bless them all, they were all very supportive of me getting help. They knew I was a troubled kid. I had a very, I don't want to say difficult childhood, but it was quite challenging. It's funny, I've never really shared this too much, but my mom, I've talked about her leaving, but I've never actually talked the extent of her leaving. My mom left us for another man, and that was very challenging for me to stomach. And I blamed that for the reason I became who I was. But I have to remember that her doing what she did was a reflection of her own ethics and morals and values. It had nothing to do with me. And me using that as the reason to use or me trying to attempt suicide and doing all of these bad things to myself, it was actually my fault. And this is where we fall a lot, is we are very quick to being like, well, I'm a victim. Nobody fucking told you to inject the goddamn needle in between your toes. You chose that. Yes, your mom left you, but that doesn't give you the right to now allow your life to completely fall apart. It's, okay, yes, it's shitty what she did, but you allowing that to basically control your whole life and the rest of your upbringing, that's a you fault. Yeah. That's not her fault.
And justify your actions, right?
Exactly, exactly. And that was one thing also that with a lot of rehab places and a lot of recovery is I find it's very victimhood mentality. I don't know if you've seen that a lot. Yeah. But it's, well, this happened to me. Well, you know what? There's people that have had way worse and they've never done drugs. You know what I mean? Yeah. So yes, did that affect me? Absolutely. But I was the one that chose to do drugs. I was the one that chose to self-harm. I was the one that did all this. Was there a reason behind it? Sure, okay, but who we kidding? When my mom did what she did, she didn't realize that it was gonna impact me to this degree. But I also can't be blaming her as well because she didn't tell me do the drugs. I was the one that couldn't deal with the pain. So I was like, screw this. Let me find a way out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was kind of, wow, and sorry, I got so heated. It's so weird. Like, oh my God.
You're in the zone there.
I know, sorry, but
no, it's okay. It's good.
It's so crazy to think that we as addicts or ex-addicts, or I guess we're still addicts, I guess. I don't know what to say. Like, I don't know, ex-addicts, addicts.
I consider myself an addict.
Yeah, so, right? Like I was an addict, I'm an addict, whatever, same thing. It was still our fault. Yes, pain happened to us, but we had the option. Like I look at my sister, for instance. Her and I had the same upbringing, same life. She's completely fine with substances. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it was kind of like I was the one that took it. And yes, it was painful. But again, I was the one that chose to self-destruct. Yeah. Instead of being like, this happened to me, make it better, I used it as a crutch to keep doing the bullshit that I was doing.
Yeah. And then, keep telling yourself that it's okay. If everybody had their mom leave them, they would use too, right? They would shoot heroin, they would take meth, whatever your thing is, right?
Yeah, but like turns out a lot of people had moms leave and they were like, no, Mary, it was just you. Yeah. So you got to stop using that excuse as your crutch because then you'll never get better. And oddly enough is we have a very complicated relationship, her and I, and still till this day, sometimes I'm like, wait a second, I'm blaming her. That's not cool. That's not cool. I'm the one self-destructing because I can't manage my own emotions. Sure, it affected me, but I also got to take ownership for the shit that I've caused.
Yeah, there's a few things. It's a great point.
Sorry, I went off.
No, you're good. I think it's an important topic because it's, I was taught when I came in that we have a part in everything in our lives, right? The other thing too is like, your mom leaves you, your dad leaves you, your husband, whatever, leaves you. It's done. It's already happened, right? So like, why am I still dwelling in it? There's a lot of healing that has to be done, right? But what's my part in it? Well, okay, I went to, a lot of people might not like this, but there's even a part, so I went to treatment with a guy, he's a beautiful, beautiful human being. He was sexually abused when he was a kid. And he was so angry, right? When he came in, the transformation I watched this man go through, having all this resentment and victim. And what do you mean I have to do anything to heal from this? What do you mean? Like, no, it was her fault, their fault. This happened. His part in all of this, and this is just my opinion. Like I said, a lot of people might not like this, but what if my part in that, sure, it was a horrible thing that happened. It doesn't, give that person any right to do it. It's a horrible thing. Should never have happened, but it did. It happened. What if my part in it is not forgiving that person? Right. And that's a really fucking hard concept to comprehend. Why would I forgive them? They win. Why, there's this ego thing that comes in, and it's like, well, resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. Right. So like, I'm having this resentment towards my mom. She's not even thinking about it. I'm the only one suffering here. Now what? Right. I'm not in control of what happens in my life, but I'm in control of how I react to it. Simple as that. So there's a lot there where it's like, and a girl came on this podcast, her name's Ashley, and she said it perfectly. I love the way she said it. Because she had sexual abuse in her life, right? And, she's told this on the podcast before. She had to shift her mind, and she had help of a counselor, from this victim mentality to survivor mentality. And I love that. It's like a simple play on words. It's like, I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor. I went through this. Yes, it was hard, but now I have an experience to help and offer other people that have been through it, right?
1,000%. I think we have this misconception that we're forgiving for them. No, you're forgiving for yourself, because if you don't forgive, yes, even though you are forgiving them, it's so that way this doesn't hold the power over you anymore. And there's this misconception where, well, if I forgive them, then all is done. No. You are forgiving so that way when you wake up the next day, it's less painful for you. Forgiveness, yes, is to make the other person feel good, sure. But deep, deep down, forgiveness is for you to feel okay with being hurt. It's accepting, I've been hurt, I forgive them. I may not forget, but I forgive them, because if I forgive them, I have peace. And that's where we have this misconception where forgiveness isn't for the other person. It's actually for you to live in peace and harmony, as cheesy as those two words sound.
It's true though. Yeah. No, it's true. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a great point, right? Because a lot of us come in here with trauma, and you articulated it well. It's like you were justifying it and healing. That was your medicine, right? Was whatever. So, what can you kind of talk about like what a day looked like in addiction versus what a day looks like now, if you remember that far?
Yes, especially now with my whole baby brain, which is actually a real thing. After you have kids, you literally lose your memory. Okay, so me being an addict, I literally woke up every day just trying to get high. I was trying to chase away the pain. I woke up, I felt extremely suicidal. I wanted to ignore the suicidal thoughts, went for drugs. And anytime any sort of depression or suicide hit, I would just numb the pain. It was very easy for me to just look and numb the pain. Now, when I'm suicidal, which is every fucking morning when I wake up, because unfortunately that's one of my issues, is I deal with constant suicidal ideologies, which is why I'm up running 10 kilometers a day. Because if I don't get up and move my body and give myself that sort of endorphin, I know I'm going to chase something else. So I'm very much on just taking care of my mind, body, and soul, whether that's going out with friends, obviously sober, or whether that's going to a movie, or whether that's just sitting at home on the couch with my husband or my daughter. I'm just looking at things that give me happiness without that happiness, if that makes sense. Because I'll be honest with you, I was fucking happy when I was doing drugs, but I mean, who wouldn't be? You're numbing the pain and you're in la la land. I was having the time of my life. So there are moments where, don't get me wrong, there's still that monkey, there's still that itch, but I also know that I have way too much now to lose. I have a little girl, I have my friends, I have my family, I have people that I guess always relied on me, but I never realized that they did. And I was just like, they don't need me around. And it was very much like, almost like a cry for help without me realizing that. I was like, does nobody see how fucked up I am or how messed up I am? Now I don't care if people see how messed up or fucked up I am, as long as I get up and I do what I have to do, kind of thing. So now when that monkey creeps up on me, and I say monkey because I don't know how else best to describe it.
It's a good analogy,
but when that monkey creeps up on me and I can feel it, I'm like, you're going for a run, or you're going to, as cliche as this sounds, meditate, or you're going to go to church on Sunday, or you're going to just sit with the feeling. And as much as the feeling sucks, if you don't sit with the feeling and you keep running from it, you're going to end up running right back into drugs.
Yeah. And it ends up ultimately blowing up in your face, right? To a more intense degree. Um, you've been in addiction yourself. You've also dealt with a loved one in addiction, right? And had addiction around you, while being sober, right? And probably both, right? Like, what can you talk about what that's like? And I don't know, just I talk with a lot of families, and it's tough, right? It's really hard to watch someone do that to themselves, especially when you know the answer, right? You're like, I always say this, but it's like there's a river, you're on the other side of the river, and you have the bridge. It's like, just, dude, just cross the bridge. Like, this is the answer. And on the other side, it's like they don't see the bridge, right?
No.
And I was like that too. I didn't see the bridge. It was just a moat and water and sharks, right? What's dealing with a loved one in addiction like, and how did you navigate that?
It's crazy. The addicts get praise, like we were saying, and the families forget how much praise they get. It is fucking challenging to sit there and watch your loved ones literally destroy their life, and you know what can happen if they don't get the help they need. And I'll be honest with you, I enabled a lot of the behavior because because I had been an addict myself. I was like, you know what? You're gonna get better. We're gonna I enabled a lot of it rather than saying, no, this is not acceptable. No. Instead, it was, I had a soft spot because nobody else understood like I did. So I was like, how do I come down on my loved one when they are going to be like, well, weren't you in this position? So it was very challenging because there were moments where I was like, oh my goodness, was I like this with my family? Was I this unhinged, unlogical human being? And it became extremely challenging because instead of me putting my foot down, I was like, you know what? We'll try again tomorrow. Or I understand. And it was like, Mary, what the fuck are you doing? That's not what you're supposed to do. And oddly enough, there's been a few loved ones and a few that actually ended up, unfortunately, where I've had to go to their funeral. And I wish that I was able to be like, what the fuck are you doing? And thank God with this loved one, I was able to. Thank God. But there were a few that unfortunately I didn't know how to do it, because when you're on both sides, it's much more challenging because your empathetic part comes out, and trying to stay sober in this chaos was very challenging, but it also hit me. If I'm this person's safe spot in this person's safe zone, then I better fucking hold it together, because if we both fall, then I'm not that person that they can run to anymore. And there were a lot of times where I was like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But I was like, but if I don't do this, this person has nobody else. So it was very, very challenging, and it was a very tug of war to deal with that. Some of my loved ones had similar addictions and some of them didn't, which made it a lot more easier, especially when it wasn't the same addiction as me. And I say easier as if it was like a walk in the park, but it didn't trigger my monkey as other
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
like as other loved ones. Like if your issue is alcohol, it won't trigger me if I see alcohol. But if I see a bag of cocaine on the table, I need to get the fuck out, because I don't have that willpower.
Yeah. How did you ultimately get them help into treatment? What was the final, how did you do that? How did you bridge the gap?
To be honest with you, with this one individual, God bless them, they were able to figure it out themselves. They had hit rock bottom, and it was like, I'm going. And I was like, good for you. I support it. It was this person's extremely insightful and very emotionally intelligent. And that's one thing that I actually was kind of envious about, was because I didn't have that emotional intelligence to realize what I was doing was actually wrong. So they knew right away that I needed to get the help. They just, I think, needed all of us to come together and be like, we're here for you. Yeah. Which is actually, to be honest with you, quite admirable. I didn't have that. I had to completely hit rock bottom.
Yeah, bang your head a few times, right? I think and a lot of people don't like hearing this because they want the answer. I'm talking about loved ones, but to me, it sounds like all you did was show up, right?
That's
and
all you have to
that's
do.
more than enough. Like,
that's really all you have to do. But you also have to set boundaries where it's, no, I'm not going to enable this.
Yeah.
No, this is not, like, if this continues, we can't be friends, or we can't live under the same roof, or we can't, there's so many different.
what does enabling look like versus support now?
Is, I would say enabling is allowing the self-deprecation and allowing the justifying, well, this happened to me, so this is why. Okay, great. I agree. It sucks that happened to you. So let's go to therapy and talk about it. We're not going to grab a bottle, or we're not going to snort a line, or we're not going to do this, or we're not going to do that.
Yeah. And then to your point, it's like, if they crossed said boundary, it's like, you know, you got it. My wife had to get to a point where you're not following the rules in this house. They're very simple rules. They're not hard to follow, right? It was, you know, stay sober, attempt sobriety to some degree. And for me, it was like going to 12-step recovery, because she knew that that worked for me before. I want to see you putting in the work, right? And she wasn't asking for a lot, but I couldn't keep up with it. So I couldn't do it because, like I said, that river in the middle was just like, I couldn't cross over, right? It was like too hard for me at the time. I didn't want to even start. And so we went to therapy, to your point. And I remember sitting in my therapist's office, our marriage counselor, therapist, whatever you want to say. And like, she was straight up just calling me out, right? Because she knew that I could handle it, but also I had been in recovery before. So it wasn't a new concept to me. She's like, you're being a little boy. And I looked her in the eyes and I said, I know, I agree with you. I can't stop though. Like, I just can't fathom being sober right now because it's so hard. Like I said, she said, well, you know, and they came to, you know, you're not following the rules of the house. Like I said, we're going to have to kick you out. Right. And this is Rebecca saying that to me. And it was the hardest thing for her to do. She reminds me today, she's like, it was so hard for me to kick you out, knowing that you had a chance of dying out there. Right. It was so hard, but ultimately she's like, I'm really happy I did it because it brought me to a new bottom. And I waved the white flag a little bit earlier.
100%. Like one of my loved ones that was struggling, which I dabbled into speaking about it. It was one of my best friends. They were a heavy drinker. And I remember I explained to this person, if you continue to do this, our friendship is done. And for about 1.5 years, we didn't speak. Obviously, they got sober and they became a significantly, I don't want to say better person, but they became who they were always meant to be. Now we are very close. But for 1.5 years, I said, I cannot have this around me. And it was very challenging for me to cut off people that had been friends for so long. But as I was watching them self-destruct, I was like, listen, you're not taking what I'm saying seriously. So maybe if I completely back it up and stay out of your life, maybe, just maybe, you'll comprehend and clue in. And it's funny because years down the road later, she still tells me, you're the only one that never actually left. I said, I was never leaving you. I was just on the sidelines watching you fall on your face because I couldn't be front and center watching it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, but to your point, it's like, I'll always be here when you decide to get help, right? As soon as the minute my phone rings and you're saying, hey, I'm done, I want some help, like, I'll be there for you. Right?
I'll be the first one to run.
Yeah. What's something today, Mary, that you're actively working on about yourself?
Taking ownership for my shitty behaviors. Because don't get me wrong, even though I'm sober, I still fuck up. Not in the substance part, but in just
the life part.
Yes, exactly.
Same.
And just taking ownership of my actions. And like, I give my husband full credit. I am sometimes not a pleasant person to deal with. No, honestly, truly, I'm not. Like, I give him full credit. I'm not a sweetheart that you see right now. Sometimes I can be completely unhinged. And I mean, when I would get unhinged, I would resort back to drugs. Now, obviously, I can't, I just can't do that now to my husband or to my daughter. It's not fair to the both of them. Like, they didn't sign up for me to go back to my old ways. So every day is a challenge because every day I have to try and be a better person. And sometimes when that monkey tries to creep up, instead of just being like, listen, I feel like I want to use again, I'm so ashamed that I'm just like, fuck off, stop talking to me. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't actually mean to just lose my shit on you.
Yeah. Saying sorry, but then actually meaning it. So to me, today, like making amends is very different than saying sorry, right?
Yes.
I was very good at the sorries before. I've said a million of them. I practiced it in the mirror a million times. Not actually, but I've practiced it enough with people where I could say sorry to anybody, right? But I would just do it again, you know? And so today, making amends, living amends is a big one for me too, where it's like, let me think of an example. That person, I don't know, in that, one time I was staying in a hotel, and a very expensive one around here because I was a baller, right? And that's what put me in so much debt. You know, when I was in my relapse, I was like, I'm gonna go all out, and I'm gonna stay at I've never stayed at the, fancy hotels in Toronto, so I'm gonna do that. And I did it over Christmas, and it was horrible, over New Year's and Christmas. And there was a guy there that like brings your stuff up to your room. I'm blanking on the name for that guy, concierge maybe, I don't know. Bellboy maybe. Yeah, but he was much more fancy than that. Anyways, he came up to my room, and I was like, hey man, you want to like drink? Because this is what I do. I bring people down, right? And he's like, yeah, sure. And he came and sat down, and like we had a few drinks, and he went back to work like after having a few drinks, right? So something, simple like that, where it's like I can't really go back and make amends to that guy. And that seems like a small example. I've done a lot of worse shit than that, but it's like things like that you would just never do. It's like put people in vulnerable situations to lose their job, or bring people down with you. Maybe he was an alcoholic and I made him relapse, anyways, you never know. Right. So, I can make a living amends to that today. And that's like, I'm not going to repeat those behaviors of bringing people down. I've brought in a lot of people with me, whether it was with ketamine. Ketamine was a big one where I would always have it, or cocaine, like we were talking about before, or meth. I had them in pills. I was always giving them to people, and like, I don't have to bring people down with me today, right? I can live amends and live a sober life and make amends that way. I'm not repeating the behavior over and over again. Yeah.
That's actually one of the hardest things to actually openly admit, is like, you were at fault.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, that's a huge thing in recovery that I feel like, not even just recovery, even just like mental health. I feel like, because again, I feel like everyone forgets addiction and mental health actually come hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I feel like everyone forgets that usually, I mean, I can't speak on you, but I feel like the majority of people that I've walked and the loved ones that I know that have suffered, it was either some sort of anxiety or depression and they couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
So instead of owning it and saying I'm depressed or I'm anxious, it was, let me take the bottle, or let me take this pill, or let me do this, or let me do that, because at least then they were numbing the pain rather than actually being like, I'm depressed, because it's a lot harder to take ownership of your actions rather than.
Isn't that crazy though? That it's like, it's so much easier to go out and go on a bender than it is to just say, hey, I need help. And then to do the work to fix it. Right. It just blows my mind. But yeah, I mean, like looking back, it's like, yeah, that's all I was good at doing, was just the quick fix, the Band-Aid, right? I want everything yesterday. Something that I'm working on today is, greed. Like a big character defect of mine is greed, right? And then like this kind of ungratefulness, like anger, opposite of gratitude. I don't know, maybe anger, where it's like, I should be making more money. I should be doing this. And I kind of fall back into this. Why isn't my podcast blowing up more, or my social media, or, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's something that I actively have to work on. And I do this thing where I wake up in the morning and I pray about it, and I talk to like whatever universe, higher power that I have. And it's like, just help me be myself today. Help me be authentic. Help me be the man was meant to be. And then help me work on like my character defects, I call them. These things that I'm actively working on. That's just a big one for me today. And it's not easy, right? Like I fall back into it a lot, because instead of drugs, we pick up these character defects a lot, where it's like, to heal your pain, snapping on someone at the grocery store is kind of like a coping mechanism, right? And it just comes out sideways,
It's funny. I have to go back to anger management, because I'm realizing, as my daughter has healed a bunch of wounds, but she's opened up a lot of wounds. And I'm realizing that I'm a very fucking angry person, and I need to really control my anger. I mean, I don't take it out on my husband, which sometimes I do, but for the majority part I don't. I take it out on my dad and my sister. They get it all the time. My mom doesn't get it as much, actually, but I give it to my dad and my sister. And I feel really awful saying that, but for the longest time, they were all I had. And they were the only ones that never left me. So even still now to this day, when my mom upsets me, because let's face it, parents will always upset you, I take it out on them. And instead of me being like, you know what, she upset me, I need to just sit with the emotion. I'm like, well, fuck you, Dad. Fuck you, Nicole. I'm mad at the both of you. Blah, blah. How dare you let her speak to me that way? And it's like, but Mary, we can't control what she says and what she does. Only you can control how you react. I'm like, well, blah, 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 blah. And then I get so like defensive and angry. And it's funny because I'm starting to realize like I'm not using, but my behavior is just as bad as if I was using. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Recovery is not just stopping drinking and drugs, right?
No.
There's a whole, litany of things that we have to do. Because if people might think to themselves like, well, what's the big deal if I'm losing my mind on people, or like, at least I'm not using drugs. Right. And I think a lot of people fail to make the connection between
that was my line when I was younger, was at least I'm not using it. My dad's like, okay, but you're shitting on us for literally asking you if you want cheese on your burger.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
Right. You're terrible to be around, right? It's like we're on eggshells around you, but I think a lot of people don't make the connection that if I'm continuing that behavior, I'm going to be using drugs in no time, because I don't like being a bad person. I don't like pissing people off. And then people are going to stop coming around me. I'm going to be the last person to know that I'm an asshole, which is like the word. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation where you're like the last person to know that you're an asshole.
I literally had no idea. I'm like, what? I'm a
or
prick?
You're being an asshole. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let's put it that
I'm like,
way.
what? I'm a prick? They're like, yeah, you don't realize? I was like, or the whole like, we can't tell you things because you get so angry, make everything about you. And I'm like, first of all, that was hard to swallow, because I was like, excuse you, what the hell are you saying? And then I got defensive, and then I realized, oh my God, look at how you're acting. No wonder why people are saying that. And then it was, I don't want to say funny, but funny to say that when I got clean, me having to deal with my suicidal ideologies became even more real. To the point where once I got clean, I still ended up going back to the psych ward, because I realized I was never actually dealing with my situations. I was just band-aiding it with drugs. And then once I got clean, I realized I'm still depressed and I'm still suicidal. So obviously, doing drugs was just a band-aid. And although it made me feel good, it didn't actually... I still struggle every day with suicidal ideologies. And there's still moments where I said to my husband, like, I don't think I can do this anymore. And he was like, I understand. I mean, not fully, but I mean, I can understand where you're coming from. And he's been very supportive of like, so what should we do? I was like, can we go for a walk and grab some ice cream? Although it's not a quick fix, it's a little distraction to get my mind off of how suicidal I really truly am. Sorry, I got so dark for a second.
No, the depression. I don't think we talk. When I started this podcast, I wanted to do addiction mainly, but I also wanted to bring in other mental health. And one of the reasons I, wanted to have you on here is like depression is a real thing that for a lot of people that don't struggle with drugs and alcohol, you take away the drugs and alcohol, now it's like, boom, depression amplified times 1,000 every day. So how do I deal with it, right? How do you deal with it? You talk about going for ice cream, distracting yourself. And I know that it might sound very, well, what the fuck? Like you're listening to this and you're like, the fuck is going for ice cream going to do? But you know what? It's like, you'd be surprised that just like a little bit of distraction, I can fully understand.
Yeah. Like, or this need for routine. Like, it's funny because I make fun of all these wellness creators for like, oh, have your matcha in the morning and do this and do that. I'm like, listen, as much as I shit on them and make fun of them, there is some truth. Like, you need routine. Like, I'm sure you learned in rehab. Routine and structure is very important.
Yeah.
But like, routine and structure doesn't mean having a fucking matcha and chia seeds.
Yeah.
It means going outside for a walk, getting 8 hours of sleep, showering, making your bed, keeping your space clean. Like, who would have thought like the basics that they teach you in kindergarten are actually like skills that you need to survive? And that's something that I feel like people forget, is like, once you get clean and sober, you're not done. There's still so much more to do. Like, having to wake up every day and doing a simple task. Like, every morning I wake up and I make my bed. People are like, that is like so stupid.
What's the big deal?
Yeah. And it's like when you come home from a shitty day and at least your environment's clean.
That's the best. Yeah.
You're like, oh my God. Because like, look, there's days where I come home and like, don't get me wrong, like I am fed up with the world. But then I look at my house and I'm like, okay, it's clean. One less thing for me to like snap about.
At least something is in order, right? The world doesn't make sense, but my house makes sense.
Exactly.
You know? Something is in order.
Exactly. Or this whole need for routine. Like, as much as it's really been like, wake up at 5 a.m., brush your teeth, go to Pilates, go to this, go to that. As much as I make fun of it, there is also some deep down truth to having routine and structure. I'm not saying wake up and go to a reformer Pilates or do me and run 10, 15K a day. But if you have some kind of structure and routine, at least when that monkey comes, whether it's addiction or depression, you're like, you know what? I have a routine. I need to stick by it. And this is one thing that I feel like there's this misconception where like when you have depression, it's hard to take care of somebody else when you can't take care of yourself. And yes and no, because like I was in the psychiatric ward at a young age. My first admission was I was 13, turning 14. There was a nurse / teacher, Teresa. She's literally why I graduated. Let me tell you something. Teresa would knock on my door saying, you got chemistry to finish. Let's get up. Let's go. And the reason was because when you were in there for a month, the world doesn't stop just because you're in rehab or you're in the psych ward. So it was very crazy to see how I still had to get my shit together for school. Because when I got out of the psych ward and I had to go back to school, the assignments were still piling up. The tests were still coming. So if I came out with nothing done, do you know how much more anxiety provoking, how much more stressful that would have been?
Yeah, you're behind on life, right?
Exactly. So it's crazy to see how we live in this world where it's like, you're depressed. That's okay. Sit down in your bed for 5 days. I am so sorry. I don't know any psychiatric ward that's you to sit in your bed for 5 days. They're like, get your ass up and do what you got to do. Because guess what? Your world outside is still moving. And eventually you're going to get back out there. And if you get back out there and you're not ready, you're coming right back in. Yeah. And trust me, you don't want to go back in.
And it's going to be worse too.
Exactly.
Because you're more behind.
Yeah. Exactly. Like she used to knock on my door, Mary, we got chemistry. I'm like, but I don't want to. Okay, fantastic. Let's go. Like it was very much like, I don't want to shower. Okay, well you smell. So what are you going to do? Yeah. It was very like, you don't want to do it? Boo-hoo.
Get in line. Yeah. No one wants to do it.
Yeah. And then oddly enough is when you end up feeling better, you're like, man, am I glad I at least did the bare minimum. So when I got back out into the world, at least my ducks were in a row. Yeah. They weren't just scattered everywhere.
Yeah. There's a lot of good stuff there. Routine, being regimented. One thing I liked, and, I a big part of my life, I used to run marathons too and long distances. When I was training for those, I found a lot of motivation in like David Goggins. He's a Navy SEAL guy.
My husband's obsessed.
He's great.
Obsessed.
I read his books. Yeah.
He tries to make me run without headphones. I'm like, you've lost your marbles.
I do that. Yeah.
No. Because I get stuck in my thoughts. No. I need my music on. No, I can't do it.
I love it. He used to always say like, and sure, say what you want about him from a mental health perspective. A lot of people criticize him for not, whatever. I don't care. It helps me. He used to say like, nobody is coming to save you. No one's coming to save you. Right. Sure, it sounds harsh, but it's true. Like I'm going through something right now. Sure, my mom and my wife can show up all they want, right? And be like, it's okay, honey, it's going to be okay. But at the end of the day, they're not going to pull me out of bed and get me to go to work or to go to the gym. It's like,
they have lives to live.
Yeah,
too.
That too, right? I don't want them doing that. Exactly. It's like, I have to come to a point where it's like, listen, buddy, like it's you and me and that's it. You can choose. You have two options. You can choose to suffer. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. I love that one. It's like pain's going to happen no matter what. I'm going to walk out of here today. Something bad's going to happen for the rest of the day. And it's how I react that I can choose to sit in it. Suffering is like, oh my God, I can't believe that thing happened to me. Well, poor me. My life sucks. How am I going to get through this? Oh my God. Like, I'm going to do nothing about blah, 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 all this shit in my head. It's up to me to react to it. Right. I want to talk about like, so 9 years is a long time. Can you talk about, some tough times where maybe, you were close to relapse, or did you ever have any moments like that where it's like you came close, or like you really struggled, whereas like you almost picked up or drank or?
Yes, COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. I got through COVID sober too, actually. I was completely sober through COVID.
COVID, it was comical. I could meet you in aisle 3 at Loblaws,
Yeah.
but I couldn't go for therapy because it just, at that time, it wasn't yet ready for virtual because of how quickly COVID hit. So I thought it was comical that the marijuana store underneath my condo was open. The LCBO was open, but I couldn't go to groups.
Or the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't do things that made me feel good. But if I want to go downstairs and smoke a joint, no problem. But if I want to go to a meeting,
No. Yeah.
none.
Yeah.
That was COVID for, I think, a lot of people who even weren't addicts, but dabbled in alcohol or marijuana or whatever. I feel like COVID really amplified because all you did was sit at home and drink or smoke weed. There was nothing else to do.
Yeah.
And the second time was being pregnant. Pregnancy sucked for me. Honestly, I had prenatal depression. Obviously, I couldn't partake in it because I was pregnant. And during COVID, I couldn't partake in it because there was so much societal pressure. Because growing up European, you're doing so well. If I let that monkey win, it would have been a whole situation. So oddly enough, I allowed pressure to keep me sober. And I allowed being pregnant to keep me sober because obviously there was no way I was going to fuck that one up. So there were 2 times where my depression got really bad. And again, it was always, for me, I used a lot of the times because of my mental health issues. It wasn't, even when I was raving to chase something away. Everything was always to chase the feelings that I was having or to get rid of whatever was going on at the time.
Yeah.
Whether that had been my psychotic episodes or whether that had been any form of my psychiatric issues that would come up. I didn't want to deal with them, so I was like, take drugs, because if you take drugs, those psychiatric issues seem to just decrease.
Yeah. It's almost like, I always say, it's like the volume button, right? Drugs and alcohol for me, it was like, it just turned down the volume in my head for a moment, where it was like, nothing mattered, right? Yesterday didn't matter. Tomorrow doesn't matter. I don't care. I'm living right now. This is fun, right?
Or this feeling, for some reason, you forget that, like, I was just crying for 2 hours. I wanted to end my life. Now I'm like, oh, I'm high. This is great.
Yeah.
But then the come down is a fucking nightmare. And then, God forbid, we deal with the come down. So what do we keep doing?
Yeah, that cycle, right? I know what'll fix this. And then, yeah, I mean, that is drug use, in a nutshell, right? Essentially, it's like this circle, the monkey wheel, as you mentioned. I was thinking about this as you were talking too, because we're alike in that alcohol wasn't our main thing, right? I was the same way, where it's like, alcohol for me, it's like, when I would have it, it was like, I could not stop thinking about what was next, whether it be benzos, cocaine, anything. I was like, oh boy, like, let's go. It started the kind of engine, right? So I consider myself an alcoholic today. How did you come in? A lot of people struggle with this, I find. I was able to admit, this was me too at 23. Yeah, I'm a drug addict. All the evidence is there. I get it. Yep. Drug addict, check. I get it. I stopped using cocaine. Okay, I'm in, right? That was ruining my life. I'm not an alcoholic though, right? I could probably have one drink. How did you deal with that? How did you come to a realization where you realized that all mood and mind altering substances were the same and that you were going to stay away from alcohol?
That was actually quite easy because when I was drinking the next day, I felt like a bag of shit. So I was like, oh my God, this is the same feeling I have when I was doing drugs. So it's funny. When I got clean, I was still drinking wine here and there with my friends because to me, I can have a glass of wine and not have a glass of wine for 3 years. Like alcohol was never, and like still now to this day, mind you, I don't drink, but I mean, if I were to partake in a glass, I could have one glass and then I'm done, because for some reason I never got that high from alcohol. So therefore, because I never got what I wanted, to me, alcohol was just to be social. I would have a glass of wine. So I'm a very lightweight when it comes to alcohol, not to drugs. When it comes to alcohol, I'm very lightweight. I would have one glass of wine. I was feeling tipsy. The next morning, I was completely depressed. I was like, what the fuck am I doing? I was like, Mary, this is exactly like drugs.
That was probably triggering too, I bet, right? Like those feelings would trigger you to want to use drugs. Interesting.
It was very weird because like though for me, so funny enough is a lot of my loved ones that are in recovery, all of their, I don't want to say their substance issues because that's so wrong to say, but all of their monkeys were alcohol. So I could be around that and it never bothered me because to me, I didn't like alcohol. I didn't like the taste of it. I don't know what it was. Actually, I do know what it was. I have an underlying eating disorder. So, or have, or I don't know how the fuck you want to describe it, but alcohol was calories. Very stupid mentality for me to think, but alcohol was calories. So drinking alcohol was
like eating a cheeseburger. Yeah.
And then because I would be drunk, I would be hungry.
Oh, yeah.
That I would want a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So I would end up the next day feeling like a bloated bag of shit, which then made me spiral down to, oh my God, I had one glass of wine, had 20 chicken nuggets. Now I feel like complete ass physically. I'm mentally depressed. I was like, this is not for me at all. So it was easy for me to just be like, alcohol, no. So it's funny, like if there was alcohol around us today, I could care less.
So even in social situations, did you have problems with that where it's like, because I know for me in the beginning, it's like, I feel like everyone's looking at me. People are noticing I'm not drinking when in retrospect, in hindsight, nobody gives a fuck, right? They're too busy thinking about themselves and worried about their own drinking. Or if people came up to me and said, hey, why aren't you drinking? That's kind of weird. It's usually because they had a problem with it or simply it was their problem and not my problem.
Yeah.
So was that tough for you, or is it tough for you today?
To be honest with you, no. It was tough for me to get back out into the rave scene and be sober. Drinking alcohol wasn't, because I never really drank.
Yeah.
So Mary not drinking, big fucking deal. It's Mary not drinking. Yeah. It was never that itch for me. But going back to thinking people give a shit about you, it's funny because we all think we're the main characters. I can tell you right now, I was doing cartwheels for shits and giggles in the Athens airport to calm down my daughter.
This past week.
Yeah, literally like a few days ago. I can tell you something. Nobody nobody looked at me, nothing. It calmed down my daughter, but I can assure you, like, maybe someone looked at me, but like, no one gave a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy how we're like, oh my God, people are watching me. Like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sorry. Like, unless you're like Joe Burrow or like, I'm sorry, like Tom Brady. Like, no one's looking. I'm so sorry. No one is looking at you.
Yeah.
I can assure you. Like, people are so consumed with, are people looking at me, that they don't even notice what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. That's great. I just picture you doing cartwheels in the airport. Do you have a video of it?
No, actually I should have. You know what? Actually, we're traveling in a few weeks with my daughter and my husband. So I will actually do cartwheels on purpose. Good. So that way people can see. Like, nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
People are so consumed with their own lives that nobody cares. And that's the problem, is I feel like everyone's like, oh, they're watching me. Listen, if you're that concerned about people watching you, put a fucking soda in your hand, put a lime in it or a lemon, and just... Yeah. Because I know also a lot of people are very uncomfortable with sharing, I can't drink or I can't do that. And like, I respect that. I completely respect that. So if you don't want to deal with that situation, put a soda water in your hand, put a lime in it, and no one's gonna know the difference. I can tell you.
Yeah, that's what I do, and because I enjoy soda water, but also it just eliminates any
questions,
and it just makes my life easier.
Exactly.
And I'm hydrated.
Yeah, exactly. Or like they'll go to the bar and be like, "Can I have a Coke?" And then with the Coke, put a lime in there. People think you're drinking rum and Coke. Not that I support that illusion, but I also respect people not feeling secure. So if you don't feel secure, I respect that. I'm nobody to be like, no, you whatever. Do what you got to do to get through that social event.
Yeah.
And I know some people might disagree. Like, I know for a lot of people, they say like, don't even drink non-alcoholic beer. I have a lot of loved ones that were alcoholics, but they loved the taste of beer, not alcohol. Mm-hmm. So they literally drink non-alcoholic beer all the time. Okay, cool. Yeah. They'll literally show up at parties with their own 6-pack of non-alcoholic beer. Amazing.
Yeah.
Like, do whatever makes you feel comfortable. And that's why I get so upset with rehab. Or not just rehab, just that whole bubble. It's like, well, you cannot go to a bar when you're 3 months sober. No, if you have the willpower to sit there and drink a Coke with no rum and you can hang out with your boys or your girls, why not?
And you have the exit plan, the support system in place.
Exactly. Yeah. I find that when we shelter the addict too much, we're actually doing more harm than good. Like, I respect the whole don't drink a non-alcoholic beer, but if the person is drinking non-alcoholic beer over and over and over again, and it doesn't faze them, it actually makes them more comfortable, because I know a lot of loved ones where they drink because of their social anxiety. So if they have a non-alcoholic beer in their hand, no one's going to say shit. Yeah.
And also, too, if you're at a point where that non-alcoholic beer is saving you from shooting heroin in the bathroom, fucking more power to you, buddy. Like,
honest
you know
to God.
What I mean?
And okay, or like when people leave rehab and like, well, they're smoking cigarettes. I'd rather than me smoking a fucking pack a day. Yeah. Like, not that I condone lung cancer. Like that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. But I'm also saying like,
one thing at a time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Every time I left rehab, I was smoking, and I quit all 3 times. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay, hopefully. We'll see.
Yeah.
I hate smoking now. So.
Yeah, like, okay, every time you're in the psychiatric ward, I can tell you this, I picked up smoking all the time. Once I left the psych ward, I stopped smoking because, again, it was a social thing to do when you were dealing with a bunch of shit. And it's not like you could do much in the psych ward. So, I mean, you would go for walks, and what'd you do? Hit your vape or have a cigarette. Yeah. It was just
something to do.
Yeah, it was just something to do. And like, yes, you're still feeding the addiction, but like, I'm sorry, I'd rather the nicotine addiction than the heroin addiction, if I'm being totally transparent.
No, absolutely. With you. That's great. I want to end with this. If you could say something, Mary, to someone suffering with depression or suicidal ideations, what would you say?
Fuck. Oof, that's a hard one. Okay, I'm going to try not to tear up. Crap, okay. Your mind is very good at playing tricks. Don't let it win. I'm telling you right now, you are worth so much more alive than dead, and I would much rather hear your story than hear it at your funeral, if I'm being completely transparent with you. So, sorry, I'm trying not to cry. Just know that it's your mind playing tricks on you. I'm telling you this for a fact. We all need you here. We all want you here. This is just that fucking monkey telling you that the world is better off without you, and the world is not better off without you. The world is a far more shittier place with you not in it. Sorry, I try not to cry.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thanks so much for coming down, Mary. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please help us grow the channel and like, share, and subscribe for more content. The discussions and stories shared on this podcast are for informational and motivational purposes only. This content is not a substitute for professional medical advice, addiction treatment, or therapy. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please consult a licensed physician, addiction specialist, or mental health professional. You are no longer alone.